My name is Alan Bruce, and I am CEO and Director of Universal Learning Systems, ULS. ULS is an Irish company, it's a private company, and we are involved primarily in research, training, and evaluation. We look at policy, we look at strategy, we look at capacity building in a number of areas to do, I think, with maximizing human potential. But our real focus over the last 25 years has been on social inclusion. And by that we understand all the strands that would go in to provide reasons or issues whereby people are excluded from participation in society. We look at disability, we look at gender, we look at ethnic origin, language minorities. And this dynamic has been very important in the work we've done. We work with universities, we work with public bodies, with governments, and we work with private employers, and we work with community associations. Commissioned research, but also how do we get away from the shackles of the past in terms of discrimination into a more participatory, democratic, engaged kind of community. So over the years, my own particular background has been in disability and rehabilitation. We've worked in a number of places. We are an Irish company, but we work internationally. So we have offices in Helsinki, in Barcelona, in Athens, also in Chicago, and in Sao Paulo in Brazil. So we tend to work with a lot of different places and environments based on work we've done in the past. We have a very heavy engagement with European Union funded projects. And this started many years ago in my earlier life when I worked with a government agency here, and it continued when we set up ULS, first as evaluators of projects and later on as project participants, doing particular work in programs, ranging from somewhat small community-based projects to very large ones in terms of educational transformation, schools, university changes, innovation and creativity in the workplace. So this has built up a number of skills and expertise over years. We have a very strong tradition of continuing research, innovative research, so we are able to move between the academic and applied sectors. What has been interesting about this particular program, this is about entrepreneurship. And how does entrepreneurship connect to social inclusion? And I can talk a lot about social inclusion, and very often it is about job finding or getting people out of a treadmill of unemployment or depression or exclusion. But entrepreneurship has an image. And the image is usually one of the high-flying executive, the person who comes from a difficult background and becomes a multimillionaire. I would prefer to see entrepreneurship as a set of skills and attitudes that means an individual doesn't think rigidly within the lines. They begin to think of motivation, how can they transcend their situation, not necessarily by working for somebody else, but working for themselves. So there's a journey involved here, and the journey is about self-awareness, self-confidence, self-belief, and this impacts on people who are excluded in particular ways. We know that the position of women in our society very often is a marginal or repressed one. For women to develop levels of self-confidence, to break away from stereotype, but to become autonomous, do their own thing, is the core to me of the entrepreneurial journey. And it's quite interesting that much of the work we have done so far around this looks at entrepreneurs who are women, who are from ethnic minorities, who are immigrants, who are refugees. And my first point of contact on this was that when all else fails, people have had very difficult experiences of exclusion. One of the things that might be there is that, well, I've tried everything else, but now I'm going to try and do it for me, on my own. And I think if this is channeled in a socially responsible and proactive way, it can produce defined benefits. So when this project was announced, we have worked with the partners before. We were able to carve out the roles we will play in the project. It was of great interest. We were delighted it was funded. And the idea then was to carry out an investigation into the elements. Can we capture the essence, the spirit, the dynamism of entrepreneurship, but focus it in overcoming barriers and allowing participation, allowing growth in a nice way? Not just to create high-fly millionaires, jet set, but to create people who have a sense of satisfaction. It is not, and we've heard this in the contributions at this conference, it is not for everybody, but it is for some people. And I think we can do this in creative ways. So this project has looked at that, and with our partners we have combined with our regular meetings conferences in 5 different countries, and I hope by the end of that we will have a flavor of the possibilities and the potential of entrepreneurship to meet social ends. So that is the reason ULS is involved. It also ties in with other projects we're involved in. At the moment, we are working with a very significant project in Spain on the inclusion of people with disabilities at university sector. We are working in the Middle East with programs around early childhood education and training. And entrepreneurship runs through this like a golden thread, a thread of potential and possibility. And we hope by the end of this we can add that to our portfolio of skills, working with our partners in new and creative ways in Europe and beyond.